All right, so very quickly, I'm going to tell you the quizzes all at once and what we're going to do for the rest of the week to try to help you, since now you need some more help. And then what we have to do that the district is making us do for you. So on the quizzes, again, I begged you guys to look at that stuff ahead of time, like look it over Sunday, and I don't know if many of you did. If you did, you might have done okay, and this may not apply to you, but a lot of you that didn't look it over, there were some really low. I mean, this was not tough. We had more practice time than normal. It's only on pretty much, do you understand side, angle, and side, side? Now, explaining it is a little difficult. I get that, but a lot of people just completely miss one problem that we've done 6 or 7 times in here. And you should have done even more than that if you would have done the practice problems, because it was in the practice problems like 4 or 5 times again. So that was the most frustrating problems. Ladies, but not today. Not today. Well, that time it was both of you talking to them, ladies. So I'm going to show you quickly. And there is a review video posted on just one of the problems because I was so angry after I graded all the quizzes. Because we, again, had done it. I mean, I went back in the review video and show you how many times we did it. It was like 12 times you should have done it. And half the class missed. Half all my students. So I refer, and I'm not going to show you the exact problem, but I referred to that lesson over and over and over again when I did that one particular problem. And I said parallel lines. So again, they don't look parallel, but show you the parallel. Parallel lines create congruent angles. And I refer to that over and over and over again on that one particular problem. And I actually, in the review video, I show you exactly what the problem looks like. So go back and watch that to get the exact figure that you would have seen on the quiz. I mean, I had people saying side. I mean, there's no information at all about sides. No congruence marks, no, I mean, nothing. I had people saying side, angle, creating their own, like using stuff from back from, like, it was horrible. It was bad. Now, some people got it right. But again, a lot of people struggled to explain. So I'm going to tell you again, when you explain, you have to say more than just, if you say no, you can't just say not enough information, which is what some people said. Like, that's just practically a guess. You could just say no, not enough information. A guess. I need to understand, why isn't there enough information? What did you need? What would have allowed you to solve? Like, you got to give me more. Now, if you got it right and it was truly no, and it's because there wasn't enough information, you still got most of the credit. But again, you need to show me you understand. And that doesn't mean write down gibberish, like just write a bunch of crap down. You don't get it and you're just guessing, then leave it at the guess. Don't write stuff down that you're just making up. Because that just tells me you don't really understand it even more. But you need to understand those theorems. It's not about, if you haven't noticed, my class is hard. Probably haven't. Because I don't just say, hey, just solve it. Just answer this yes or no. Like, it's not that kind of class. You need to show me you understand it. So study, go back, watch the video. Something as simple as saying, well, I know there are congruent angles because of the parallel lines. You didn't have to say corresponding angles, alternate interior, alternate exterior. Parallel, and I said this a million times, parallel lines create congruent angles. That's all you needed for an explanation. And then you'd have to, name the right theorem, say yes, they're similar, name the theorem, and then parallel lines create congruent angles. All you need. Yeah. And the ones that were about sides, some people said, oh, well, the sides are congruent. So it's side, or side angle side, or whatever it was. Well, congruent sides have nothing to do with similarity. What's true about the sides in similar triangles? Similar triangles, what's true about sides? They're in proportion. So you don't say they're congruent, therefore they're similar triangles, because that's not accurate. Technically, you should have still said more than the sides are in proportion, but I think I wound up taking that for full credit. Because only about 3 or 4 people even mentioned that. What else from the quiz? The solving, there were actually 2 problems straight from the book too, so that's another thing. The solving, again, solving was supposed to be the tougher part, and it was still tough, but it wasn't any worse than the front page. So, all right, so make sure you're ready for that tomorrow. It's worth 2 points, so it's double the normal value, which actually, considering we don't have a ton of grades, will probably help you raise your grade 2 or 3%, possibly. I don't know exactly what
I'll
to do.
take retakes and make a vote.
There's no more retakes. Retakes are done. We're done. So the only thing you have is today's exit ticket and tomorrow's exit ticket. That's it. You're done. Oh, no. Well, yeah, I really don't want to because people aren't studying for them. I'm just grading a bunch of quizzes that aren't raising anybody's grades. But there are enough people that are raising their grade that I'll keep doing it. But a lot of people, yeah, they don't do any better. All right, so what is this about? Oh, and we're also taking the cycle test on. What is it for you guys? Well, no, that's not up to me though. I don't control this because we have to have a computer lab, and I don't remember when the lab was. It's either Thursday or Friday. Oh crap! How are you going to get that done in 45 minutes? Everybody else is going to need an hour and 15 minutes. I'll have to follow up on that. I don't know how that's going to work for you guys. I just now thought of that. So we're gonna have to. You might just wind up going there. I'll tell you on Wednesday which day we're at. If it's Thursday, you'll go straight there, and we'll get started. Like as soon as you get there, you'll log in. And if it's Friday, then we'll be in here Thursday. I'll tell you Thursday. Remember, tomorrow you go straight to the computer racks. You don't have that lab through because they're doing all kind of other testing this week. And you can't see it and then come back the next day and do it. So it's a secure, what's called a secured test. So, yeah, so that will be a grade, by the way. I'm not giving a grade for it before, but because we have to do it, which means I'm not gonna have time probably to give you my quiz I was gonna give you, so you won't do my quiz, so you've got to do your grade. I'll throw out any questions that we just didn't cover. So it'll even though it'll probably be 20 something questions, your grade may only be based on 10 questions. So it will be fair. Assuming you know what you're doing. It'll be a fair assessment. Don't worry about that. But you need to know what you're doing from the past module. Again, I can't see that. I was gonna say I'll look at the questions and tell you which ones to do first, but I can't see them. I'm not allowed to see them there. I'll figure it out. Again, I'll figure it out. I may have to curve yours differently than theirs. But it's got to be a grade because I can't give you my test. Unless you want to do my test one day and then do that test. You want to do back-to-back tests, we can do that. Well, I don't know that that will be the majority of them. So. No, even because if I didn't have to adjust the grades, then I could probably do that, but I'm gonna have to go through and pick out which questions I thought you should know how to do, and then for every single person, pull out what your answer was, the right or the wrong. So yeah, I'm not gonna get all that stuff done in time when I have all the other grading still to do. What is this about? So it's about the sides, right? No degree symbols. So if we have a right triangle, and if we have information about the sides, it has got to be a squared, b squared. So what's the important thing to identify? I mean, that's it. Like once you understand it's a squared, b squared, c squared, which you do have to know that, like that's not given to you typically in any way. So you need to know, oh wait, right triangle, information about the sides, a squared, b squared, c squared. Now you just plug numbers in. I'm going to go a little faster than normal so we can record it all. It does not matter where you put the A and the B. I could have actually also. Are you talking to me on that, Jada? Doesn't make sense. Oh, the B. Yeah, so I just changed that. So again, I could say x squared plus 6 squared plus x squared doesn't matter. The math works out the same. Just a quick visual, 2 plus 3 is 5. Well, 3 plus 2 is 5. Doesn't matter the order. Now to solve. You're the only group that I've shushed twice. One more time and you move. Again, I'm crazy. Oh, I don't know why I said. We can count it here. I'll fix it. Plus x squared. So if you squared those numbers, that's what you would have. Now to solve, like subtract 36. Subtract 36. So I get to that. Looking at this picture, is there any way 189 is something? First of all, you should know x has to be what? Got to be less than 15, because 15 is the longest side, right? So it's got to be less than that. Now, when you have very small numbers, which you'll see in a minute, it's a little trickier to know that that number doesn't make sense. Like when you have decimals as the numbers, or even really, really small numbers. But just understand, we do not want x squared. We want x. And the way we get x is to take the square root of that. Well, if I do it on one side, I got to do it on the other side. That's what I grade, by the way. Like somebody asked me, where do we round it? I don't care where you round it. I'm mainly looking at that right there. What number did you take the square root of? As long as that looks good, I'm in pretty good shape. 13.6 or 7 is that, right? Yeah. If you round it to the 10th digit, it would be 13.7. So just remember how to do that for your exit ticket. Just be careful, make sure you identify side C, make sure you plug numbers in the right spot, and make sure you do the math. And then make sure you take the square root. All right. So I also gave you one that I said could potentially be it, where I said if I give you the 3 sides of a triangle, you have to do a squared, b squared, c squared to see if it's a right triangle. If the left side equals the right side, then it is a right triangle. That's not going to be your exit ticket. It'll be on, I'm sure the district will have something like that on there. So I'd study that for the district quiz. We probably will throw a problem in tomorrow and Wednesday with that. This will also be on the district, I'm sure, because it's going to have module 8 stuff in there in addition to module 9. For your grade, for me, I might pull the module stuff 8 out, but if you just want to do well on it, we said parallel lines create congruent angles, but they also create congruent proportions. Remember, we did this. We have a triangle. We said, well, that's 1 and that's 3, and that's a 2. And that's an x, I could just say 1 over 3 equals 2 over x. So it's the same concept. It's not that new. It's the same thing we did before. Parallel lines create equal proportions. I could take these two things and say 2.4 over 3.6 equals this over this, 3 over 4.5. Same thing. They're all going to be in the same proportion. If one of them was an x, like if I said that's an x, I don't know that. Solve for x. You just take whichever portion of the figure would be matching up with x. 2.4 over 2.8 equals 3 over x. So again, I'm not spending a bunch of time on that. There's IXLs I've assigned and nobody has done, by the way. So that's another thing that tells me you guys don't really put a lot of effort into it. I think there were 2 people that have done slides. Actually, one of them did. So I'm not gonna spend a lot more time on that. There's IXLs. That would be, I think it's triangle proportionality and then proportions and something else. All right, so here's our new lesson. This is straight from your reference sheet. So you will have this, which is pretty much the whole lesson right there. There's nothing to memorize. You just have to know how to use that picture, those 2 pictures. So to start with, we'll do this. Solve for x. Give you a couple minutes on that. I'm gonna set a timer to make sure we start the exit ticket on time. Where we get out? Well, Some teachers don't like it, that's fine. Thank you. Oh, she's not here. Well, I don't know if she's testing. So we have 25 minutes. But 6 minutes. Remind me that it's time to do the X ticket. All for X.
Oh, yes.
Well, I'll do it 10 minutes later.
That's the fourth.
Marley, what are you doing? Oh, first of all, earbuds out. Earbuds out. I didn't go over that. Yeah, we're back to strict no technology probation in this class.
Well, you should.
In all my classes. What do you think? There's a way to do it using the new lesson, but there's also a way to do it using the old lesson. Don't or do you?
Oh.
Oh, like
Well,
I
should we
literally
take
just
one?
saw the light bulb go off over Hayden's head. So now you should be able to do the old one. So if you didn't hear what we just went through and you're totally lost, I gave you congruence marks. So if you know that's a 1, you know that's a 1. So now you can do it a couple.
Okay. Oh. Kidding.
Ever just last. I'll give you another 30 seconds.
That same thing as ticket, right?
No, exit ticket is what we did for Bellworth.
Same thing, right?
I mean, not exactly, but you can do it using the A squared, B squared, C squared, and everything.
So, because the girls was blind and before he did tell us again. We got new minions.
All right.
Yeah, they told us at 10:30. We closed at 10. That we got new minions. I was blacked out.
Oh, so people had them all night long.
Well, they changed today. Today's our new menu, but I got we finally got them back.
All right, so that's the first thing you should have pieced together on that. Now we know it's a right angle, which means we know it's a right triangle, and we have 2 of the 3 sides. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So we can do it the old way. So I take 1 and square it plus 1 and squared. I'm just going to take a shortcut because hopefully you all know 1 squared is 1. I get 1 plus 1 is equal to C squared. Here's where I say it's a little tricky when you get low numbers, because you might accidentally say, oh, well, if that's 1 and that's 1, yeah, 2 makes sense. Like it's definitely bigger than the 1s. Just be careful with low numbers, especially decimals, because we don't want C squared. We want C. That is side C. So we need to square root both sides. So you get 1.4, 1.41. I don't care where, again, I grade that right there. What did you take the square root of? So make sure you show them. So now here's the new letter. Again, oh, and really for this particular triangle, you will never need the new lesson. You could always do that triangle the old way. The second triangle we are going to learn, that one you have to do, or you have to understand how to do that one the new way. What is true about that triangle? The blue triangle. What's true about it? It is a right triangle, but it's also something else about it that you've done before. So, because what kind of triangle is it? Well, what kind of right triangle is it? What's that mean? It is an isosceles triangle.
Got that.
What do we know about the angles? If it's an isosceles triangle and those sides are congruent, what do we know about the angles?
The angle that.
The angles are congruent. We learned that when we did isosceles triangles. So if I know that's 90, I know those have to be the same numbers. What are they? Well, they have to add up to 90, which means, and they have to be the same number when they add up to 90. Here, let's yeah, it is. So that means they have to be 45 degrees. So there's a special relationship in all, we say it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. We don't typically say an isosceles right triangle, but you might hear something. So in a 45, 45, 90 triangle, if we take one of the legs will always be the same number, isosceles right triangle, and then we multiply that times the square root of 2, it will give us the hypotenuse. That is a much faster, easier way than having to go through a squared, b squared, c squared every time. Again, that's just a relationship that you have between the sides when it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. Why it's called a special right triangle. So again, if I took 1 and I said, well, I'm going to take 1 and multiply it times the square root of 2, that gives you that side, which we solved out a different way, and that's what we got. Square root of 2. Now we'll do more problems on this tomorrow, but what if I gave you this? So now that you know how the shortcut works. We got that. We got that. That's all I give you. And I tell you those two things, you should now know it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle. And I say solve for x. There's actually 2 ways you can do it still. So I want you to try to figure it out. So again, I give you the markings, they tell you something. So there's a way to do it the old way. That math is way more complex than the new way. Figure out how to reverse the math the new way. So again, I've given you now, instead of giving you one of the legs, I've given you the hypotenuse, and you got to figure out how to give it a leg. I want you to do it. Try to do it. Like I said, there's 2 ways to do it. One's way, way faster. I mean, you still have a right triangle. You still know an equation that would only have one variable in it. So you could do it with that concept. Give you another minute and then we'll go through this one and then we'll do the next one. Then we should be time for the next game. So I'm just going to write this up there. It is a right triangle and it's about the sides. So this is an option. I'm also going to write this up here. Do it in another color. Oh. So think about what this would be here. There's that, right? What if I gave you this? There's your hint to doing it the new way. What math would you do in that second line down here? What math would you be doing to go the other direction? On which one? Exactly fine. Oh, well, you should be able to plug numbers in, at least set up an equation. Do that. I gave you the equation right there. You know some of the numbers or some of the variables are numbers. So what is the other leg? Well, no. This is something totally different. Don't ignore this. This has nothing to do with that. This is your hint to doing that problem this way. If I wanted to solve for x, I'm multiplying, right? So what if I wanted to solve when the x is over here? And I know, because that's basically what I have here, right? I would multiply to get to that. How would I go from that down to the x? Again, if you don't understand this, do this. You should be able to do the a squared, b squared, c squared. If you don't understand what I did on the left, ignore it. This has nothing to do with that problem. It's just trying to get you to think about what you could do to do it the shorter way. I'll explain the shorter way later. I'm going to start. And this is why you're going to want to understand how to do the shortcut, because the math on this is a little trickier. I went ahead and squared the 7, but that should have been 7 squared. No, that's not how we do that. Okay. That's one way to do it.
Oh.
So here, let me just, for those of you that the algebra, you're just stuck on the algebra. This is the same number, right? X squared is going to be the same number as x squared. So what would one of those have to be? This has to be the same number as this, right? If I'm x squared, you got to be the same thing as x squared. So what would one of those have to be? What would just x squared have to be? Yeah, I'd have to split the 49 into 2, right? So that's one way to kind of more logically think about it. I believe that's correct. All right, so I don't know how many people anybody still working on it? Nobody? All right, then we're going to move forward. So the math on this is just like what we just did. I mean, you solve in a different way, but it's still the same equation. A squared plus b squared is c squared. It's just now we know c squared. So if you didn't hear what I just said, the intuitive way, if you struggle with algebra, is if I'm adding the same number to itself, that's got to be the same number plus the same number. And I have to get 49. Then I'm basically just saying that I'm dividing 49 in half. Hopefully you understand that. If you don't understand that, then you need to understand that we can do algebra. How many x squareds do I have? I have 2 of them, right? X squared plus x squared is 2 times x squared. So now I need x all by itself. So I need to get rid of what? If I need x by itself, what do I have to get rid of? I got to get rid of the 2 first. So if that was 2 times x squared, I do opposite math. And then I get the x squared. And then I have to get rid of the squared part. So, and I should know that that's too big anyway, because 7's the longest side. So if you take the square root of 24.5, you get 4.94, blah, 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 blah. Really. So that's the old way to do it.
0.95.
So now let's just go to some logical thinking. I'm going to take 2 numbers that I'm multiplying and I find out what x is. So what's my answer for x? Down here, now we're on the red. Totally different. We're done with the blue. So again, if I want to solve for x, what do I do? Really? Oh, right here. What do? I want to solve for x. What do I do? What does x equal in that? So what's 3 times 2? 6, right? So how do I now reverse that? If I now have the bigger number, what do I do to get x? We do the opposite math, right? Well, we don't have a 2. We don't divide by 2. We do the opposite, right? If I'm multiplying here and it gives me that, now I'm going the other direction, right? So I divide. So if I multiply to go that direction, what do you think I do to go the other direction? That's it. So I would take that number and divide by square root of 2 to get from the hypotenuse down to the left. You just do opposite math. If you go in the opposite direction, you do the opposite math. Simple as that. So if we would have taken, so in your calculators, you can do this. 7 divided by now, because we're going the opposite direction, do that in your calculator. 7 divided by square root of 2. So again, you don't have to memorize this. You get that on the quiz. My quiz, the EOC, everything. So all you got to do is just understand, okay, well, I'm to go from a leg to the hypotenuse. It's telling me to multiply times square root of 2. Well, that means if I want to go the opposite direction, I need to do the opposite math and divide by the square root of 2. That's all you got to remember. Just how to use it. Any questions on that? We'll practice tomorrow. So really quickly, because I got to get through this, it's the same exact concept. This is a 30, 60, 90. This is recording, so, and we're going to go over it more tomorrow anyway. So it's the same concept. If I want to go from x to the hypotenuse, so for the shortest leg, so this will have 3 different length sides. So to go from the shortest side to the hypotenuse, I multiply by 2. Well, what do you think I do to go the other direction? Then you divide by 2. So if I want to go in the opposite direction, I divide by 2. To go from the shortest side to the medium length side, or the other leg, basically, I multiply times square root of 3. So if I want to go the opposite direction, then I divide by the square root of 3. So that's all you got to understand. Don't have to memorize anything. Now, I would never try to go from the hypotenuse to the medium side leg. I'd never try to figure that math out. Just figure out the shortest side and then go to the other leg. Or figure out the shortest side and then go to the hypotenuse. Just always use the shortest side as the number that you're going to base that in. And if they give you that, then it's easy. But yeah, never try to go from the hypotenuse to the longer leg or the longer leg to the hypotenuse. All right. You can go ahead and put stuff up. You guys actually have more time than the other classes, so you shouldn't have any issues with time. Show your work. Make sure you have, and you still have a calculator. The what we did for the work.
Every time I walk,
These.
that was
Ooh. Oh, that's actually correct. So the fourth.
That's right.
Too much on here. Why don't you guys just move?
What? I knew it. You not doing
Yeah, that's because I didn't give you a quiz. As soon as I give you a quiz, that's when you cheat. So Hayden, you can go back one, please. Yeah, if you guys hadn't cheated and have quizzes, I wouldn't worry about
What
it.
are you thinking? I want to see the
What's that?
A seat's
Oh, boy.
I wasn't even talking.
Oh, yours doesn't there. This, well, it's not that you're talking, it's that you're gonna cheat. You can't help it. You guys can't help cheating. Yeah, that's what the other ones were easy too, and you still cheated on them. So much so that you actually changed your answer. Cheater. Why do you think I make up 4 versions now? Because it's 1, 2, 3, 4 of these.
You gotta move. You gotta move. Gross.
No,
Gotta move.
anybody not get one? All right. They should have plenty of time. 2-point exit ticket tomorrow. Be ready. Angle, angle, side, angle, side, 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 and make sure you understand them well enough to explain. Here.
You never move, King. That's the problem. Oh, shit. Bro,
Why would I move him?
like,
It's long, it's farther away. If I move him, that doesn't create space between me.
if it does, then I'm moving Caleb's spot.
Oh, it's that, that makes, so I'm gonna move 2, so you're gonna move anyway. Let's go, move 2 people in the center. Thank you, thank you. 2 point, hopefully for everybody. I actually don't know the answer.
Okay, this
I mean, you set it up correctly, so as long as you use and do sound right. You had a different version, you set it up correctly, so as long as you got it correct. And again, we don't use our phones after quizzes or anything anymore, so no need to rush through, think you're jumping on phones. It hurts when I'm looking out like this, like to have them on because.
Are they readers?
Yeah, so I can't look through them because I make it worry and my eyes want to focus on the graphics. They're on.
But now.
My eyes get worse every single day, I think.
So. So much. Yeah, I need to stop first. Actually, the most this year. And I'm doing some really good lately. But like the most.
Yeah, wind it up, right? Where you go, wind it up, right?
Let's
You got, let's wind it up.
My friend Ryan will. I'll be fine.
See, you don't even.
Center the bush.
I'm not.
Well, you have to wind it up, right?
First thing next, the center drop back. and block.
yeah.
Now that's what they hear.
You wind it up, right? You wind it up, right?
Are you done?
Yeah, I wind it up.
Even learning. Stop thinking the bus test.
Counting.
No, he wants to use you more. I told you that. He wants to use you more. And that is not,
Freaking fly route.
I'm not just saying that at all. Well, and again, you're gonna have to run that route because that makes, did you see how far back they were playing?
I know, and I was.
That's because you have to run that route to make them do that. Now, once you do that, that's what I'm trying to talk to them about. Once you do that, now we need to have you breaking off stuff underneath. If they're still trying to show me, like, if they're 20 yards back, don't keep going it. Oh, you still at, I mean, you're still over. Now, you can still pitfall over people back there. They have confidence you can do that, but I'm like, why would you do that? Just have her break her route, have her go to where wide open. That's, and again, I sent we texted this weekend, and then again, I don't coach, but I tell them what I see, I'm watching game, I did see that. Yeah, so again, I send them stuff that I see, so don't think that I'm not, or they're not aware of it. Now, the problem is, we don't really have certain set. That's the problem. There's not really a route where you run a deep circle. So we need to maybe make some adjustments.
In the middle, whatever, in the middle was like hella open.
And that was the other thing I said, like, that's what I said, run her on a post, right? I said that during, but again, he's got a million people telling him stuff and I've been there, I've been telling you a million things. It's hard to like talk this at all. But trust me, I know Richie's watched that video a million times and he's seen So he will learn from the video. It's tough to do it right in a game sometimes. And I told him when we text, I said, look, we need to be ready for that because it's gonna happen every game. Because now imagine we didn't even have Yana. Yana's fast too. So if you are, and I don't know if she'll play outside or what, but if you're both threatening to go deep, every play, every team we play is gonna move their safety. There's nobody so athletic that they're gonna be able to keep their safety. So it'll happen, just give us time. Again, it's a learning process for coaches, just like it is for players. You in a hurry, Everett? Well, you don't hang out, you're in a hurry. Oh, well, I'm good. I just felt like you didn't say anything. No, all right. See you tomorrow. Everybody, tell all the people that didn't show up today that I gave you an easy exit ticket for 4 points. They'd probably be like, I don't care. I don't care. That's exactly what they'll say. Because I know they were done. I'm sure they didn't have to go through the entire class doing their SATs. Right, Marley? That those people were done with the AC or SAT and they just didn't show up. Yeah, we know that. Right?
Yeah.
We know how they are. Jeremy, Lex, all of them. All those juniors. Jake, how did you do on that quiz?
I have no idea.
I don't either. I can't remember. It was bad. I told you guys so many times, and I knew this was gonna happen. I don't know how many times I said it. Well, it's not in focus because focus is down, but. Yeah, I know. I heard it was still down this, well, it was still down this morning. So trying to get to me. Oh, that's good. Here. Oh, actually, you did well. That was fantastic grade for that quiz. Yeah, there were, I would say
What you were
less
talking about.
than 10 people got an 80 or higher.
Oh.
Out of, now granted, people were absent, people miss it, but
Yeah.
you know, probably at least 80 people took it. Less than 10 got it.
Anyone else?
Probably heard. Yeah, I did have one student that's an A student and she got below an 80 in one of my other classes. You were actually one of the few that got pretty much full credit on the explaining side.
I don't even know what I was doing.
That was in the book. That exact problem. I didn't change
Probably
any,
was.
actually, I did change the numbers. But
It probably was,
it was
but
that exact problem. You set up the right proportion there.
no, I don't know. I was like,
You did it right, but you didn't set it like,
I don't
that's
know
the
what
right
that says.
proportion there.
oh, I thought I was so wrong.
That's the right proportion there, but then you tried to cross multiply within
Yeah, I
that
didn't know what to
proportion.
do.
You set this 5/2 equal to that. So equals 5/2, then you cross it.
I didn't know what to do. I was like,
So you had enough information
I
that
knew I
kept you in an A or
at
an B.
some point, but I didn't know
Yeah.
when. I got through like a wall, and then I was like, we cross multiply.
Yeah, remember,
So-
once you create your two proportions, you set
Set
them equal
those.
to each other.
What did I set it?
Nothing, you didn't.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't. Well, you
Okay.
said that you divided it out and said that equals 2.5,
Okay.
but you shouldn't have, I wouldn't even do that. I would just set this equal to 5/2, and that's gonna be.
Yeah, I was.
A bunch of people try to create a fraction after they find the proportions. They try to like do something where they create a third fraction or something like
Oh.
that after
I
they.
didn't think that far.
So I again,
Almost.
that is much better than most. So
Yeah.
Oh, Nelly. Oh, shoot.